In the previous session, we have learned how to solve simultaneous algebraic equation by Gauss elimination method, and we have learned the details of the algorithm therein. Today, we are going to study the method of solving first order ordinary differential equations numerically by Euler and Runge-Kutta methods. At the beginning, you might think that solving differential equations will be harder than solving simultaneous algebraic equations. But in practice, if you think algorithm wise and logically, solving first order ordinary differential equations are extremely easy and much easier than Gauss elimination method, which is for solving simultaneous algebraic equations. Today we will not learn the algorithm part, we will learn the theory part, and on the next session we will study the remaining part of the theory and the algorithm together. So let's start. So this is the statement of the problem. So we are given with this first order ordinary differential equations of this form. The form is dy dt, this y is a function of t, dy dt is equal to some function f of t and y. This function involves both t and y. Y is a function of t itself. So dy dt is equal to fty, and as is obvious, a first order ordinary differential equation comes with a boundary condition, with one boundary condition, and that is given. This is an initial value problem. So it is given as y at some t equal to t0 is equal to y0. This value is given at t equal to t0. So with this condition, we have to solve this differential equation. So what do we mean by numerically solving a differential equation? We know what we mean by solving a differential equation analytically. We want to integrate this. Before that, we have to rearrange this in a suitable way and then integrate this to find out y as a function of t. So this means when we analytically attempt to solve this, we actually try to find an analytical function for y. But what do we mean by numerically solving? We are not going to get this type of analytical function, there is no chance. In a numerical method, we only work with numbers. So what do we want? We want to generate a set of data points like this. This t0 and y0, t0, y0, this data point is already given. So from this, we need to generate the other points, t1, y1, t2, y2, and etc. where tn plus 1 is tn plus h, meaning that t1 is equal to t0 plus h, t2 is equal to t1 plus h, where this h is called the increment or the step size. It means the increment of the t variable. It is worthwhile to mention here that this h may not be constant. It may vary, and one can altogether do all these things which we are going to do today by not setting h as a constant. You may set it as different times. So when you go from t0 to t1, you just mention, keep it as t1 minus t0 and then t2 minus t1. But this has no extra significance other than just a generalization and obvious complications and big expressions, uh, but otherwise it is very customary and very convenient to set this h as a constant. So this means that the increment of t is constant, equal amount increments in every step. So the methods may be used to find yt for some given value of t, and also to visualize the data points by plotting them. You can plot these data points, right? So when you get that plot, uh, you are essentially done. So even if you get an analytical expression, ultimately you want to visualize that analytical expression by plotting, and that plotting may be achieved through these data points. Also, you may be asked to find yt at some final value of t, at some tn. So that may be also done, but before coming to yn, you have to go through the other points. You cannot jump to find yn. You have to go through t1 y1, t2 y2, t3 y3, and then dot dot dot, and then you finally reach at tn yn. So this is the formulation of problem, and now we are going to look at the ways of solving this numerically. So first, the simplest method, this is called first order method. Why first order? That will be clear in a while. So this is the problem again. Dy dt is equal to fty with yt0 is given as y0. What do we do? Our first task is to calculate y1 at, y at t1, that is y at t0 plus h. Notice that the initial point t0 y0 is given, and therefore you know that what is the value of dy dt at that point. If you know t0 y0, then you immediately know the slope at that point, because this is given by the differential equation only. So the slope at that point is nothing but f t0 y0. So if you are given with the point t0 and y0, you know what is the value of dy dt at that point, because you know the function fty. So let's say this ft0 y0 is equal to f0. So this is a linear approximation, so that's why this is called first order, and it can be easily seen that this is consistent up to first order Taylor series expansion, the first term. So linear in h. So in a linear approximation, we just travel along the slope from t0 to t1, that is t0 plus h, and reach at y1, which means y at t1. So we move from t0 to t1, but not in a straight line parallel to x, but along a straight line which has the slope f t0 y0, that is f0. So let us graphically see this, and I think this will be clear to you. So first, look at this graph. Let us assume that this green curve is the exact analytical solution of the problem. So this is the exact yt, y is a function of t, but you don't know this. when you are attempting to solve this by Euler method, we don't know beforehand what may be the function. So since we don't know this, we start at t0 y0, and what you do, we move along this straight line and reach at t1 y1. What is special about this straight line? It is the tangent of this curve at the point t0 y0. Since we know the tangent from ft0 y0, which is f0, so we know the slope, so we move along this line and reach at t1 y1. Therefore, this is a line segment, and at the two ends of this segment there are 2 points. One is t0 y0 and the other is t1 y1, and therefore f0, the slope, must be given by y1 minus y0 by t1 minus t0, but t1 minus t0 is h. Therefore this f0 is y1 minus y0 divided by h. And this brings us immediately to the solution, that y1 is nothing but y0 plus h into f0. Just rearranging this equation, we get y1 is equal to y0 plus h into f0. So we call y1 as y t0 plus h. So this is the increment of t. So this is t1, which is t0 plus h. And similarly, from y1 we can reach to y2, and this y2 will be y1 plus h into f1. What is f1? f1 is function, that given function, but at t1 y1. Now notice carefully that t1 y1 is not a point on this curve, and since we don't know the exact solution, we cannot allocate a point on this curve. So all we know that our second point, that means our first point after the given point, is t1 y1. That's all we know. So we again calculate the function at t1 y1 and assume that this is the slope. Since our solution can be that best, so we calculate this slope and move along this slope to reach the point t2 y2, and in the similar fashion we proceed. So in general, the solution of the Euler method can be written as y, if you know the point tn yn, then according to Euler method, yn plus 1 will be yn plus h into fn. Just generalize these results. Generalizing these results, we can easily see that yn plus 1 is equal to yn plus h into fn. This fn is nothing but function of tn yn. This function is known to us, known from the differential equation we are given. So this is the general scheme of solving first order ordinary differential equation numerically by Euler method. So let us see an example. Let us solve this equation. dy dt is equal to y into cos square t. You can solve it analytically. It's not very tough. Remember that you are given with this initial condition that y0 is equal to 1. So this is the exact solution. You can notice that you just shift this dy by y, and then this will be cos square t dt, and then you just integrate. On the left hand side you will get a logarithm, and then on the right hand side this cos square t will be some function cos 2t, and then there will be some constant, so that exponential will come from this logarithm, and so the solution is e to the power t by 4 into 2 plus sine 2t. But when we are solving with some numerical methods, we will not assume this exact solution. We are just considering it for comparison. So what will we compare? We will compare this exact solution with the Euler solutions. First, an Euler solution with 10 points, meaning that so I have set the final limit of t as t equal to 5. So with 10 point means we will set h is equal to 5 by 10. We will divide this total interval into 10 parts. So h is 5 by 10, so that's equal to 0.5. So let's see, and then we'll compare this with another Euler solution, but with increased number of points. Let's say now 50 points. So we will divide then the interval into 50 parts. So let's see first how the Euler solution with 10 point goes. This is the solution. You see that it almost follows the pattern of the exact solution, but it is not very satisfactory, of course. It's very different from the original curve. And so does it improve when we increase the number of points? And let's see. Yes, of course it improves, but still, even with 50 points, this is the difference with the exact solution is clearly visible. So this is expected because it is just a first order, and there are scopes of improvement. So let us try to improve this solution. So how to improve this Euler method? So we will first informally discuss the improvement. So look that here we at the beginning we are at t0 y0, and what you do, we move along the straight line which is the tangent, and that tangent is given by the differential equation itself, and reach t1 y1. And for this example, of course for this example the scenario may be different if a different kind of example is taken, but surely for this example, this slope, if you move along this slope, the point t1 y1 actually overestimates the exact solution. Exact solution is here, right? This is t0 plus h, so this is t1. So the exact solution at t1 should be here, but the slope at this point overestimates y1. So what you get is much increased value than the exact solution. So what if we if we took the slope at this point? What is the slope at this point? Remember that we don't know this exact solution. All we know is that we may reach here after traversing along this straight line. So what is the slope at this point? Slope at this point is graphically, you just see that slope at this point, so tangent at this point is this, as given by the differential equation. So if we moved along this line, parallel along a line parallel to this, starting here but parallel to this line. So look, we started here, but we moved forward parallel to this line. So this would give another estimation of y1 which is clearly less than the exact value. So if we move along the slope at the initial point, this overestimates y1. If we move along a slope at the end point, this underestimates y1. So for a region of increasing slope, let's say we have a curve of increasing slope. So instead of this kind of curve, we may have this kind of curve, a parabolic curve, say. So the scenario would have been opposite. In that case, the first case underestimates and the second case overestimates. But anyway, for the sake of understanding, we just stick to this example. So what can be intuitively possible way outs? So the first way out is what is known as Hyoun's method. It is a very, if you just informally think, it is a very obvious choice that since one slope overestimates and another slope underestimates, you just take an average slope. So that is what has been explained here. Look, we have encircled this part of the figure. So this is the slope here, and this slope, that is, this slope is parallel to this one, and this part has been drawn here, and we just take the average of these two slopes and move from t0 y0 along this average slope, and immediately you notice that you reach very close to the exact solution. So now the solution y1 will be written as y1 is equal to y0 plus h into f average. What is f average? It is nothing but half f0 plus f1. So we'll start at t0 y0 and move along a straight line with slope f average, straight line which has slope f average, and reach here. So this will be our y1. This method is called as improved Euler method or Hyoun's method. There may be another way out, which has been explained in this part of the figure. Look, this was our t0 y0. So this point is t0 y0, and this is t1 y1, and this point is t1 y1, and this was h. What we have taken? We have taken a slope at the midpoint. Midpoint means, since this is not the midpoint slope of the curve, because we don't know the curve, we only know that we can only move along this straight line. So we have taken a slope just at the midpoint of this straight line. So taken a slope at t equal to t0 plus h by 2. So this slope will guide us from t0 y0 to the next point, that is to find y1. So now the solution y1 will be written as y1 is equal to y0 plus h into f mid. What is f mid? We have written this f mid explicitly. Carefully see that that function of t0 plus h by 2, this is t0 plus h by 2, and y0 plus h by 2 f0. Why h by 2 f0? Because this point is y0 and you have moved an amount h by 2 along the slope f0. So y0 will be, at this point the value of y1 is y0 plus h by 2 into f0. At this point the value of y is y0 plus h into f0, but at the midpoint the value of y should be y0 plus h by 2 into f0. So this is the specification of the point, and the function, if this function is given by the differential equation, again remember that the differential equation was dy dt is equal to fty. So fty is given. So if you calculate f at t0 plus h by 2 and y0 plus h by 2 f0, you will get dy dt at this point. So the solution is written as y1 is equal to y0 plus h into f mid. In the previous case it was y0 plus h into f average. So since the slope is taken at the midpoint, this method is called as the midpoint method. So in this slide we are writing the general formulae for obtaining yn plus 1 when you know yn. So we have seen this formula for Euler method. Now for Hume's method, this formula is yn plus 1. Hume's method is yn plus the average slope of two slopes, average of two slopes. The first one is f tn yn and the second one is f tn plus 1. Remember, this is not yn plus 1. Yn plus 1 is what you are going to find. This yn plus 1 is the yn plus 1 of Euler method. See, this y1 is the y1 of Euler method. So we are using the Euler method solution to improve it. So the Hume's method solution involves the Euler method solution explicitly. So this yn plus 1 is yn plus h into the average slope, one slope, another slope by 2. The first slope is taken at tn yn, the second slope is taken at tn plus 1, that is tn plus h, and yn plus 1 Euler. So this is the general formula for Hume's method. And the general formula for midpoint method is yn plus 1 midpoint method is yn plus h into function of, this is the slope is taken at the midpoint along x is tn plus h by 2 and along y is yn plus h by 2 into f tn yn. So just go halfway along the Euler line. So this is the formula for midpoint method. So in fact, these two methods are actually special cases of a general method which is called second order Runge-Kutta method. So what is that? Look, Euler method was a first order method because it was consistent up to Taylor series first order, which is very obvious to see. And this Runge-Kutta second order method must be consistent up to Taylor series second order expansion. We will see that explicitly. But there is a general formalism of Runge-Kutta second order method. So general formula for yn plus 1 from yn according to Runge-Kutta second order method, we often call this as RK2. So to visualize this formula clearly and easily, we just define two quantities. One is k1, which is nothing but h into f tn yn. Another is k2, which is h into f function of tn plus alpha h and yn plus beta k1. So this k1 is h into function of tn yn, k2 is h into function of, instead of tn we are writing tn plus alpha h, and instead of yn we are writing yn plus beta k1. And in terms of this k1 and k2, yn plus 1 according to RK2 Runge-Gupta second order can be written easily as yn plus a1 k1 plus a2 k2, as simple as that. Why this kind of a formula we'll see later, but first notice that if you just put alpha is equal to 1 and beta is equal to 1 and a1 is equal to half and a2 is equal to half, we recover Hume's formula. Okay, just put alpha equal to beta equal to 1 and a1 equal to a2 is equal to half. So just put alpha and beta as 1 and then you just see that this is nothing but Hume's formula. We will come to this point later again. And if you take alpha equal to beta equal to half and a1 equal to 0 and a2 is equal to 1, you just recover the midpoint formula. We'll see these two cases in details shortly, but this is just to emphasize that Hume's method and midpoint methods, these are just special cases of this general formula. So let us go back to the same example again, that is dy dt is equal to y cos square t with y0 equal to 1, and the exact solution was yt is equal to e to the power t by 4 into 2 plus sine 2t. So this green curve is the exact solution. And let us now compare three methods all together. Euler method with 10 points, Hume's method solution with 10 points, and midpoint method solution with 10 points. So all with 10 points, and check that whether Hume's method and midpoint method improve the solution. So this red line is for Euler method with 10 points, and Hume's method and midpoint methods are represented by this blue and magenta lines respectively. This is for Hume's and this is for midpoint method. So Hume's method and midpoint method go hand by hand in the almost over the entire region of the curve, but clearly they are different, they are not same. This may seem to you that midpoint method is better, but I can assure you that this is happening for this curve. For some curves, Hume's method may seem to be better. So if you increase the number of points, these two methods produce results which are almost identical. So you can see all these three methods have been done with the same number of points, and since these Hume's method and midpoint method are second order methods, they have clearly improved the results. So we need to now look more closely at this formula of RK2. Okay. So a closer look essentially means that we want to check the equivalence of this formula with Taylor series expansion up to second order. So to do that, we define some shorthand notations which are nothing but essential for compact expression, and this is just for convenience. So first of all, this ftn yn, we will call this as fn, and this del t of fty. So if you take a partial derivative of fty at the point t equal to tn, instead of writing this clumsy thing, we'll just write del f del t at n, and similarly del f del y at n. So del y of f ty at t equal to t. So as per definition, this k1 and k2 were given by these expressions. So we have seen it just in the previous slide. So if we examine this k2, see that this f has two variables t and y, and there are increments in both the parts. So this is given by ftn yn plus alpha h into del t of f at n. So del f del t n. Since the increment of t is alpha h, so this increment comes here, and the partial derivative with respect to t taken at t equal to tn. And then the increment along y is beta k1. Therefore, the second term will be beta k1 into del f del y n, partial derivative with respect to y, and then we have order of h square. We need to be consistent up to order of h square, but notice that k2 already has an h which is multiplied. So after multiplication with this h, this order of h square will be order of h cube, and we don't want that. Therefore it is sufficient to take up to this term only. So if we write it in a concise way, so we just break this bracket. Look, this order h square becomes order h cube, and then this is just hfn, this is alpha h square del f del tn, and this is beta h square fn into del f del yn. Why is this? Because of k1. Look at k1. K1 is h into fn. So we just put h into fn here. So this term becomes beta h square fn into del f del y at n. So since we have explored and expanded this k2, so now we write yn plus 1 according to RK2 in a detailed fashion, and just notice that these two terms, so this is a1 k1 plus a2 k2. So a1 k1 means h into a1 fn, and the first term is in k2 is hfn, so we are multiplying it by a2, so this becomes h into a2 fn. So the coefficient of fn is h into a1 plus a2, and since we are multiplying k2 by a2, so in the other terms just a2 is multiplied with alpha h square and beta h square. So this is the formula for yn plus 1 RK2, and let us directly write yn plus 1 according to Taylor expansion. So Taylor expansion means yn plus 1 is to be calculated at y at tn plus h. So this is yn plus h into dyn dt, so yn dashed, and then h square by factorial to yn double dashed, so this is double derivative, and plus order of h cube. So this can be written as yn plus h into fn. This yn prime is fn. Look at, just think about it. Y prime is given by the differential equation, original differential equation. Y prime is f. Y prime means dy dt is equal to fty. So dy dt at t equal to tn is what is y dashed n. So this y dashed n must be equal to f at t n y n, which is nothing but fn. And since yn prime is f, so yn double prime will be df dt. So this is h square by 2 df dt at t equal to t. And what is df dt? Look, this is the total derivative, and if we split this, so df dt is equal to del f del t plus del f del y into dy dt. df dt is equal to del f del t plus del f del y into dy dt. So all taken at t equal to tn, so this expression becomes this one. Other terms are same. So yn plus 1 according to Taylor's expansion can be written as this. We have removed the bracket and also colored the different terms. So this coloring will be effective for collecting the coefficients. And for comparison, we are just writing yn plus 1 according to RK2, and we now directly compare these two equations. So what is the coefficient of fn here? This is h. And what is the coefficient of fn here? This is h into a1 plus a2. This tells us that a1 plus a2 is equal to 1. Similarly, a2 into alpha is equal to half, and a2 into beta is equal to half. So we get three conditions here. But in the general formula of RK2, we have four parameters: a1, a2, alpha and beta. So four variables but only three equations. So there are infinitely many solutions. What does it mean? It means that you can design Runge-Kutta second order methods in an infinite number of ways. But any way you choose, you just have to maintain these three conditions. Why you need to maintain these conditions? To be consistent with the Taylor series expansions. If you do not maintain these conditions, your formula will be not consistent with the Taylor series expansions. So let us revisit Hume's method and midpoint method, and you can just see that if we replace alpha equal to beta equal to 1 and a1 equal to a2 is equal to half, so the RK2 formula becomes the Hume's formula. And you just check that this parameter setup is consistent with these conditions. See, alpha equal to beta equal to 1 means, and a1 is equal to a2 is equal to half means a1 plus a2 is 1. Yes, this is right. And then if you multiply a2 and alpha, this will be half, and if you multiply a2 with beta, this will again be half. So this is consistent. And same for the midpoint method. Here alpha equal to beta is equal to half, and a1 is equal to 0 and a2 is equal to 1. So a2 alpha and a2 beta both are half, and a1 plus a2 is 1. Yes, this is fine. So these two methods are consistent with Taylor series second order expansion, and therefore these two methods are qualified to be RK2 methods. Remember that there may be infinite number of RK2 methods. All you need to do, you have to maintain these conditions. So to summarize, we have learned how to numerically solve first order ordinary differential equation by Euler method, which is correct up to first order Taylor expansion, and by generalized Runge-Kutta second order method, which is correct up to second order Taylor expansion. Remember that here first order, second order, these order references actually refer to the Taylor series expansion, and not to the order of the ordinary differential equation. We are always trying to solve first order ordinary differential equation. We are not talking about second order differential equation or something like that. We are solving first order ordinary differential equation, but we are gradually increasing the correctness of the method, the accuracy of the method, and so this is generalized Runge-Kutta second order method, which is correct up to second order Taylor series expansion. So this does not mean that we are solving second order differential equation. Remember this. Hume's method is a special case of RK2, we have seen that, and another method is midpoint method. This is another special case of RK2. These two are explicit improvements of Euler method. And we have also checked the equivalence between the second order methods with Taylor series expansion up to second order. So we learn Runge-Kutta fourth order method and the algorithms in the next session.